guys, Sean Logan, the fan of a flyer here, back with another video, another drone video, and I'm making a lot more drone videos now because it's already the 15th. 2 more weeks and I'm heading back to Vancouver, so I gotta hustle. I really have to. So that's why I had gone to Labrador Park last week, and a friend of mine had recommended that place to me. It was great, got great shots. Today I'm here at the Civillian War Memorial. Now before I start the drone video, I want to talk about this place because this place is very important in Singapore's history. So let's get started. Now for me to start talking about the Civillian War Memorial, I have to tell you the whole story. So hold on to your popcorn and let's take a trip back in time, traveling all the way to 1942, the Second World War. Now, as you probably know, in the Second World War, the entire world was at war. Everyone is fighting with everyone. So while most of the main battle took place in Europe at the doorstep of Hitler and Nazi Germany, before after USA got involved, the Japanese Empire was expanding all over the Pacific Theater, which was the Pacific area, which also included Southeast Asia. So in so doing, they ended up coming to Malaya, and Malaya is present-day Malaysia and Singapore combined, because Singapore wasn't always its own country. It was always an island belonging to the territory of Malaysia until they separated. So that's when Malaya broke into Malaysia and Singapore. So when the Japanese got to Singapore, they drove away the British, who were currently occupying the entire island of Singapore and Malaya region, and they drove away the Chinese and the Indians and the Eurasians, that they claimed Malaya as part of the Japanese Empire. And when they did, the Japanese completely invaded the country and they were marching down the streets, and anyone who saw them had to take off their hat and bow to them. Anyone who did not would be publicly beaten and probably even killed, just like that. And when the Japanese came here, the Empire of Japanese did not like the Chinese very much. So what they did is, they rounded up all the Chinese that they could, and they took them to several secluded locations around Singapore, and they just massacred them. And it was a horrific event. Like, it was not safe to be Chinese in this country, the same way it was not safe to be a Jew in Germany. So the same way that the Nazis were killing off the Jews, the Japanese imperialists were killing off the Chinese. So there was really no one who could stop them. And long after they were doing this, when USA ended the Second World War by dropping the 2 atom bombs over Japan in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and then Japan withdrew from Singapore and Malaya, and they handed it over to the British, who then made them independent. And after Singapore gained its independence, this monument was erected to commemorate all the Chinese who were massacred by the Japanese occupation. So because they weren't soldiers, they were civilians. So that's what this place really is. It's a very heritage site of Singapore, and it does look a bit like the obelisk that is there in Washington DC, but that's just a coincidence. So I've seen many people fly drones over here, so I'm gonna take a flight over here because it's a really great place. And not just that, beyond over there is Esplanade, 2 dome hemisphere type buildings that are sculpted to look like durians, which are the national fruit of Singapore. And so that's what it's about. So let's go. Now, by the way, small side note, now this place is supposed to look a lot nicer actually, but the reason it doesn't look the greatest right now is because they're actually setting up grandstands over here, because every year in September Singapore has a Formula 1 race, which is part of the global F1 Cup, and they have a track over here. Unfortunately, Singapore is so small, they can't have a proper racing track like the Silverstone Raceway or the Yas Marina track, but so that's why they have to close down parts of the streets to make a track. And there's a grandstand going to be coming up over here. The cars are going to come in like that, so that's why this region is being closed down. So there's some construction over here, but beyond that, this entire field is open for public, so I'm going to be flying over here. Let's go.
12 seconds later.